Hello, everyone. Hello. I am Lauren Cornegay, the founder and executive director of EndoBlack. I'm super excited to be here. We have been working on this event from 2023 almost, I feel like, and it's just really exciting to be able to be in this space talking about self-care, wellness, and mental health as it relates to endometriosis. I'm very excited to also be hosting this alongside Pelvic Rehabilitation Medicine. We're very thankful to their sponsorship as signature sponsors. If you had the opportunity to look around the room, you will see beautiful Black art. We had these pictures taken at the beginning of 2025. These photos are to really just show that Black women are not a monolith, and that also we have different stories. Some people may have stories that may not really be exciting when it comes to endometriosis. Others, they never had any struggles. So we wanted to show the variations of those stories and how some of those stories probably relate to our stories. So we want to make sure that people see this so that people can understand, relate to it, and also feel. Again, I want to say thank you to our signature sponsor, Pelvic Rehabilitation Medicine. I also want to say thank you to our presenting sponsors, Sumito Pharma, as well as Cramps, C-Main Health, and Lunettes. Very thankful for their sponsorship again. And I don't want to hold you all up. We are going to bring our panelists and our MC to the floor today.
This is comfortable. Well, hello everyone. How you guys doing? I didn't like that energy. Hello everyone, how's everyone doing? Thank you. So my name is Casey Jo. I'm going to be your MC for the day. I do have endometriosis. I was diagnosed in 2018, and ever since then I've been talking about it on social media, so you can find me at It's Casey Jo. And I have these wonderful, beautiful women. Look at the skin, look at the hair, look at the outfits. We're going to be talking about everything endometriosis from the patient standpoint as well as the providers. So let's go ahead and get started, okay? So I'm gonna open the floor to all of you guys for the first question. Can you briefly share your personal and professional journey related to endometriosis? And we'll start with you.
It was exhausting. It was very exhausting. It was a lengthy process. I do believe after I had my son at the age of 17 that my symptoms did get worse. However, I was not diagnosed. I was told all of the things. You're too young to have endometriosis. I had providers to chuckle in my face. I had providers to diagnose me with anxiety and a plethora of other diagnoses and multiple STD and STI testing. So it was not an easy journey, but I hung in there and I fought. And I would like to say that my mom also helped me to get a diagnosis. She actually diagnosed me first. She's also an endometriosis warrior, and she helped me to advocate to get an official diagnosis.
Love our mamas. Yes. And this is Tamika, everyone. All right, Dr. Ashley, can you go ahead?
So I'm Dr. Ashley Davis. I am a minimally invasive surgeon in Atlanta. I specialize in fibroids and endometriosis excision. And I work at Pelvic Rehabilitation Medicine, the sponsor of today's event. So I have always wanted to be a doctor, and very young I had an experience with my grandmother passing from cervix cancer because she didn't go to the doctor. So that's why I went into OBGYN, and going through OBGYN residency and fellowship, I just really have a heart for the endometriosis patients that take forever to get diagnosed. Some of these women are suffering in silence for years and years and years, and no one believes them. And I was like, I have to help them. So that is how I started, wanted to become an endometriosis surgeon.
And let me just say thank you for everything that you do for us. We really do appreciate it. And Dr. L, how about you?
The hair.
Thank you, girl. Thank you.
So hi everyone, I'm Dr. Francesca Owu, but you can just call me Dr. O. I was initially diagnosed with fibroids in 2015. And then after that surgery, I was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, and then diagnosed with adenomyosis, and then most recently diagnosed with cyst. Eventually, I went on to have a hysterectomy as of May 2025, and I primarily focus on individuals that have some form of chronic illness or experience caregiver burnout within the relational aspect. I'm pretty sure I forgot something in there, but feel free to always ask questions.
Okay, and lastly, Ray?
Yes, hello, I'm Ray. Lived experience about 20 years. I'll be 37 in May. I struggled since I was 17. Honestly, it was self-diagnosed. I've I figured out myself very early on, and it wasn't until my early 20s I was officially diagnosed. My journey is ongoing, and I guess you guys will learn about the ongoing journey that I'm dealing with now at the tender age of almost 37. So
You're young.
Yeah, I think so. You're right, girl. Okay, so this is also going to be for anyone who would like to answer, but how do you see the intersection of race, gender, and healthcare influencing Black women's experience with endometriosis? Anybody want to go?
I mean, we're not believed. You know, our symptoms are downplayed, our symptoms are dismissed, our symptoms are taken lightly, and they don't, you know, providers don't understand the totality that it takes upon us, not just physically, but also mentally, financially, and emotionally, as well as our family members. My son was very young, you know, during my process of getting a diagnosis. So just not believing us is not having enough systems in place. Also, like just having community events and the awareness to help educate and to empower and bring awareness to.
Does anybody else want to answer?
I mean, so endometriosis affects about at least 10% of the population, which is probably an underestimate. It takes an average of 7 to 10 years to get diagnosed with endo, and that's more like 15 or 20 years for Black women. Traditionally, but physicians used to believe that Black women couldn't have endometriosis, and it was only proven, within this century that yes, we can. Just like she mentioned, they thought, they had STDs. But basically, being a Black woman with endometriosis, you are less likely to be heard about your pain, less likely to get diagnosed, more likely to get the inappropriate surgery and not the right care. And I find in my clinical practice that the Black patients that I'm taking care of have more severe disease by the time they get to me because they're being diagnosed later. And so it's not benign, and it is from implicit bias.
Mm-hmm. I can relate to that. I had symptoms from 14 and I didn't get diagnosed till I was 23. And every doctor I went to was like, girl, that's just your period. You're being dramatic. No, I'm not. So shout out to the doctor that actually, did the work and diagnosed me. But how about you?
Absolutely. So I was thinking about initially when I went into the ER with symptoms. And by the fourth time, the doctor was tired of seeing me. And he said, why don't you just get a hysterectomy already? I'll never forget that. That's the name of my next book. And I looked at him and said, would you have told me that if I were a white woman? Mm-hmm. So they zeroed out my bill. But it literally plays out in my mind almost every time I go to a doctor. Like, they're not going to believe my symptoms. Your periods aren't supposed to be as painful as they are when you have just a normal cycle. So even with endometriosis, I've never experienced a cramp, but I know what the severity is. I don't understand what a cramp is, but I do understand making space on the bathroom floor, staying there almost every night. It became my bathroom with a pillow and a mattress, just so I have access to the bathroom. Just so if I need to throw up, I can, do it freely and go back to sleep. Doctors didn't understand that. It was more so you're being dramatic. But I also never told doctors that I was a mental health professional. So I'm documenting everything that they would tell me, and then I would report it. So that was the Karen in me. So, but actually, let me not even say that. Not necessarily the Karen, but advocating for yourself. Right. So if this is what you're going to tell me in our appointment, I'm going to make sure I document this, and I'm going to make sure that it's actually reported.
Yeah, you're right.
What's interesting is that the first doctor that I seen when I was 16 or 17, she was an Asian woman. And it was very matter of fact. It's interesting because I'm going to fast forward in a second. She was an Asian woman, and she said, I don't believe you have it. You're too young. I don't believe you have it. But even if you do, here's some birth control. It should get rid of it. So it was and it did help. The birth control did help. But it was very dismissive, and I don't even believe you anyway. An Asian woman. I didn't see a doctor until about 20, 23, 25. I was 16 and about endo. It just put a whole damper on. I didn't feel believed. So it's just, the birth control was working. I'm like, I don't want to see any more doctors about this stuff. Fast forward now, my specialist, who I've now got in contact with, I changed my insurance to PPO. I didn't know how to do that, blah, blah, blah. But the endo specialist I'm seeing now is an Asian woman. I couldn't believe it. Dr. Trong, I don't know if anybody's heard her name, but she's in the area. And I've only had one appointment with her, but the first consultation has been, I can't even believe it, amazing. She's very empathetic, compassionate. She had to reschedule me because she was in surgery. So she was super apologetic, giving me gift cards, spent extra time with me. So I just found it very amazing that the first doctor, who was Asian, but this was I don't know, 15 years ago. I was 17. I do math, but so I'm hopeful, optimistic about this journey. Cautiously optimistic. I just think that was a full circle, weird, bizarre. I can't believe it. So to be continued, because this is an ongoing thing with this new Asian doctor. So
yeah. My first doctor that actually thought something was wrong was Asian as well. So it was interesting that you said that. But he misdiagnosed me with cancer, so that's a whole nother story. But yeah, full circle. I'm like, oh, well, thank God it's not that, right? Yeah. Okay. So Ray, you said 20 years you've been living with endometriosis. How has your understanding of healing evolved since then?
So I had to learn that it's healing is like, it's literally ongoing. I used to look at it as like an endpoint, like you're healed, there's a healing, there's an endpoint to healing, you know, there's an out. But it's literally, it's ongoing. And now with my journey, everybody's going to look different. But now with my journey, I have no children. I've never been pregnant. Don't know if I can get pregnant. But now with me being at this age, we all know after 30, 35, it's harder to, you know, have children. And then with infertility concerns with endometriosis, that's just an added factor. So my journey is, I'm still in that process. I'm coming to understand that I may or may not be able to have children. This is going to be ongoing for me. So when you think of healing, just keep in mind it's not an endpoint. I used to think that it's not an end. Even with my endometriosis being well managed, a lot of people weren't. It was been well managed over the years. It's always that thought of, can I ever have children? Yeah. So it's going to be ongoing, and wherever you are in your phase, some people can and still have endo, and but they may have other factors. So depending on where you are, just keep in mind healing is just. It is ongoing. It's very likely that it's not an end point.
You know, it's never linear. It just goes all over the place.
Yes.
Yeah, I can relate to that. So Tamika, I'm going to bring it to you. What emotional toll does not being believed take on patients?
I have to reiterate, you know, not just the physical, but also the emotional, the mental toll that it takes on someone just to be believed. You know, you're exhausted by the time you get a diagnosis. I remember being on a Therapy Hall show in 2024, and it's like you go through the stages of just feeling like you're not heard, you're not believed, you're not feeling seen. And that was the first time I actually felt seen in 2024. And I got my diagnosis in 2019. So from 2019 to 2024, I was on this show and I felt seen and I felt heard, because so many women start to, you know, tell their story of endometriosis and come out to share the complexities that they had dealt with in the healthcare system. And so that was really refreshing for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And Dr. Ashley, I'm going to bring it to you. From a medical standpoint, because that's important to hear, how do you see chronic pain from endometriosis affecting a patient's mental and emotional health over time?
So by the time patients get to me, they have spent years trying to get someone to believe them, right? And that chronic stress of endometriosis, we know, is a chronic inflammatory disease. It involves your nervous system. It's not just a GYN problem. It involves your nervous system, your immune system. That's why it involves fatigue, and you feel these whole body symptoms. And your mental health impacts that, right? And the chronic stress of not being believed, of being told the pain is in your head. You know, patients, they start questioning themselves. You start questioning yourself, is this, you know, maybe I'm not in pain. And it's very detrimental to your health. That definitely affects you physically. You know, often, like you talked about, once they get diagnosed, there's a period of grief that you go through. Even though you're thankful to feel better, it's like, why did I spend all these years in pain? And it's hard, and it's really, really important that you sit in that emotion and get help dealing with that emotion, and don't try to just push it down.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I felt a lot of anger when I was diagnosed, and I love my mom, but with her, because I'm like, I told you I couldn't go to school. You didn't listen to me, you know, you didn't believe me. You start to like see all of these little things like, wow, you guys.
Well, one of the main barriers to diagnosing things like endometriosis, abnormal uterine bleeding in general, they did a study on this. It's health literacy and patient healthcare provider communication, and then like kind of cultural taboos. And that plays a big part in endometriosis diagnosis, because a lot of times, this runs in families. So a lot of times that's what her mom went through. And so she doesn't necessarily think it's abnormal. And so they see their children going through this, but it's all they know. And it's not something that anyone has talked about, right? And as women, especially Black women, we're taught that our pain is part of it, right? That we normalize, like, our lot in life is to just endure suffering. And I'm really passionate about changing that.
I love that. Thank you for that. And Dr. O, I'm gonna bring it to you now. What are healthy coping tools for managing unpredictable pain and flare cycles?
So some of the healthy coping tools I tell my clients really start from the basics, is having your heating pad, staying well hydrated, but I also let them know I'm not a medical professional, so make sure you follow this up
I agree with that.
talking to a medical professional.
It's been approved. No worries.
And also deep breathing. Sometimes I have to tell my clients about just making sure you're not catastrophizing in your head about what is this pain symptom actually going to do to me? Am I going to wake up in the morning? I want us to slow down and take some deep breaths and think about, okay, am I safe now? Am I in a safe space in order to actually even feel this pain? Because sis, the pain is not going anywhere right now. So I also suggest to my clients, and let me know if I'm right about this, having certain levels of medication. I know I had level 1, 2, 3, and 4. So by the time I hit level 3, it's like, okay, Fran, you probably have to go to the emergency room. And also learning certain techniques from my brother and my father who have sickle cell disease. I had a tendency to not carry any medication with me, pretending as if, oh, this is not really happening, and then getting sick in public. The last thing you ever want to do is get sick in public because people are like, ooh, what's wrong with her? So making sure that you actually have your medication in your purse, in your pocket. If I'm feeling a certain way, just get up, go to the bathroom, take your medication, sit in a corner, drink your water, talk to a friend, and always have a support system with you. Whether you need to sit there and text and pretend as if the pain isn't happening, or whether your friend is sitting right next to you, hold their hand. To some people, it might seem like it's a bit much, but whatever you need to do in order to get to that pain, that's legal. I would suggest you go ahead and do that.
Heavy on the legal, please.
Yes. you know, some people might do some other things in order to cope with pain. And sometimes that's how they end up in my virtual therapy room. Like, what are you doing in order to cope with your pain? What are some maladaptive coping mechanisms? Some people are drinking because doctors aren't believing them. Some people are smoking weed every single day, right? So how do we taper down some of these habits so that we can get you the appropriate diagnosis so that you can actually start feeling better again to a certain extent, whatever your baseline is. And so you can actually, to a certain extent, start loving your body again. Right. Because any sort of reproductive issue that causes that amount of pain, to a certain extent, you're not really going to like yourself on some days. And that's normal. You're not going to, sometimes you're going to wake up in the morning and think, oh, I have to go through this day. This is the pain that I have to feel. What are some positive affirmations you can tell yourself so that you can actually get through that whole day?
Love that.
Yeah, I think it's spot on.
We got it approved. We're good. We're good to go. So I'm going to open it up to the floor. Anybody can answer. We're going to talk a little bit more about mental health and wellness and self-care. But are there cultural relevant approaches or community-based supports that you found effective for Black women managing endometriosis?
Cultural, honestly, having a community. When I was initially diagnosed, I remember sitting in my doctor's office and I said, endo, only white women can get that. I didn't know that Black women can actually have endometriosis. And it wasn't until maybe 2 years later, I found something called EndoBlack and connected with Lauren. And she had mentioned that she started EndoBlack in 2015. I'm like, oh, okay, so I guess I was supposed to meet you. And then we started talking more about what endometriosis is and doing the research and making sure you have a support system. I met some wonderful people online. Hey, girl. I met some wonderful people online that also have the illness that you can talk to. So I want us as Black people across the diaspora to understand that we heal within community. We can't heal in isolation. You can't heal in the silo. We operate from being around other people who have similar experiences. So this whole thing of self-care to the point where you're isolating yourself is not helping us. We have to make sure that we have people that understand what it is that we're going through and have that community so we can actually start feeling better, so if someone can actually understand what it is that you're going through.
I think that's super important. I completely agree with that. And even from a medical standpoint, when I educate my patients about endometriosis or whatever condition we're being diagnosed with, I tell them, talk to your family, talk to your friends. One, you need the support. You don't need to suffer alone. And two, you don't know who you're going to help by sharing your story. A lot of women are suffering with these symptoms, and again, they don't know that they're abnormal. They don't know that there's potential treatment. They don't know that there's someone that may listen to them. And so that's why, even though I know the problem is with healthcare providers, right? Yes, we need to listen, and yes, we need to change a lot of things, but yeah, absolutely. But I do want you guys to feel empowered. That advocacy is very important. Community is extremely important, and it does make a difference.
It's so interesting that all of you knew what endometriosis was when you were diagnosed. I was like, endo what? I didn't know. How do you spell it? What is that? Can I die? Like, I had all these questions. I'd never even heard of it before. So I love that. But now I'm here trying to educate people because I still get that question. Like, what is that? Where does it come from?
Sometimes I have to check people, let them know it's not sexually transmitted.
That's a thing.
Because individuals will ask like, well, how did you get that? Like, what the hell do you mean, how did I get that?
Right.
Like, okay, so let me break it down for you. Because right now I have high blood pressure too. So one thing we're not gonna do is drive up my blood pressure. Right. So I'm gonna explain it to you like, this is what the illness is. This is what I experience. If you have any questions, please ask me, and go to Google. I was just about to say Ask Jeeves, my bad. Go to Google and find out what this actual illness is instead of
This generation, I was like, ChatGPT,
You
got to.
Jeeves is how I found out back when I was 17, 18. When it was actually Ask Jeeves. So
I don't feel too old now. Okay.
And here I am like, ChatGPT. Okay, Ray, what self-care practices have you have been most sustainable for your long term?
Honestly, nothing really, except a social support. There is nothing long term that I felt to be sustainable. It's been social supports because that's the only thing that's kind of ongoing. You know, being able to vent, have a sister, family that believes you, family that comes through with medication or your heating pad. It's only the social support is what I found to be the most significant thing that's sustained me over time. Only that, honestly.
It just goes to show how important community is when you're dealing with this. Even if it's someone you don't necessarily know, but just like finding spaces like EndoBlack, you know, to meet other women that are dealing with it, or a doctor that you can feel comfortable enough to go to and speak to. It's just so important. So
it is. And here, EndoBlack has been great too. It's actually where I learned, just really quickly, there was a seminar. It could have been one of the random seminars one was throwing at the library. There was like a library event. You just never know what piece of information you're going to get. Right. So I can't remember what event it was, 'cause I show up to a lot of them, but a doctor's name was dropped. So I just took down the doctor's name. I followed up. I can't remember the doctor's name, but she's located in Baltimore. When I did call, I found out I had to have PPO insurance. I didn't have PPO at the time, but I was able to schedule a free consultation. So I had the consultation with the doctor. On the phone, she was great. She gave me I had some questions and she gave me some recommendations. But just in that phone call, completely unrelated to endo though, but because I heard that name, I met with this doctor. We had a conversation. She found out I was on a certain medication. I should not have been on that medication mixed with something else. I went to my doctor. I had to schedule an emergency appointment. I was at risk of a significant blood clot. I learned this from a consultation, a free doctor, because the name was thrown out at a random endo event. And so it was a life-saving consultation, all because I learned that doctor's name through a random endo event. So absolutely, EndoBlack has been everything, and your social supports, community supports, has been everything. Yeah. The only, honestly, thing that's sustained me through.
Yeah, when you're in these spaces, talk to people, get to know them, learn their story. You never know what you can walk away from with that kind of information, for sure. And Tamika, I'm gonna ask you, how did storytelling and authorship become part of your healing process?
I was very reluctant about sharing my story. I was very embarrassed. But I felt like, first of all, healing is not linear.
Right.
And you have to learn on this journey how to pivot and when to pivot. And you also learn on this journey that everybody's body is different. So what works for someone else may not work for you, and vice versa. For me, a care plan did not consist of birth control and any other type of medications that were recommended, because I dealt with having adverse reactions and allergic reactions to several of the treatments that was given to me. So it got to a point where my doctors were getting exhausted with me. Even after the diagnosis, it's like, we don't know what to do with you. You're a complex case. You're a rare case. I'm like, I'm not a rare case. I have endometriosis just like millions of other women have endometriosis, but your care plan is not working for me. So I had to get with a doctor who was open to holistic health and who was going to help me to research things that worked for my body. And even with holistic health, I need to stress this. It does not cure endometriosis. There's this misconception that if you're on a holistic regimen that you won't have a flare-up. You still can experience flare-ups. It still happens, but you have to do what works best for your body.
Yes. And Dr. Ashley, how can patients better advocate for themselves when they feel their pain is being minimized?
I love this question because I love giving, action steps people can take. Like I mentioned earlier, the main barriers are, we talked about cultural taboos and stuff like that. We are fighting that with these type of discussions. And the healthcare provider communication. Some of that's on the healthcare provider, but it's also important that you all document your symptoms. And I find that especially patients in chronic pain, because also you don't have a diagnosis and you're kind of trying to wonder what's going on, you come in and you don't say, hey, I have a pain right here. You're like, this ovary hurts, this kidney hurts. And then that may lead the doctor down the wrong path. And so it's really important to just kind of describe your symptoms, where they are in your body, how you feel, keep a calendar of it so you can see how it relates to your cycle. And so you can really give them a clear history. That can be very empowering and really helpful.
I love that. I love that. And Dr. O, because I love art, and we are here at Healing Through Art. What is the connection between creative expression and emotional healing?
So when I think about that question, I think about the mind, body, spirit connection. This is something that we don't necessarily talk about often when you take any sort of like continuing education for CEUs or for your license and whatnot. But the mind, body, spirit connection, when one portion of that trifecta is off, everything is going to be off. So if you're having pain symptoms, your mind is off, your body's off, your spirit is off. You don't necessarily feel good about yourself. I'm so sorry. Menopause. What was the question?
It's all good. It's all,
Please.
girl, I'm gonna have to find it. I got ADHD. I gotta go find it. Hold on 1 second. I know how to do with art and stuff, girl. Hold on. There we go.
Art.
The connection.
Yes. Yeah. So art can be found in any and everything. Literally not just painting to a canvas, but cooking, gardening, planting. I know a lot of Black women are getting into gardening. That is amazing for your spirit, amazing for your soul, just to be outside of nature. If you live in an apartment, you can have your little garden inside your apartment as well. Cooking, finding a new recipe on Pinterest and engaging in that with your friends or your family or your support system. I was gonna say wine. Don't do the wine too often. Maybe pick one day out of the week where you can do a little wine or something like that. But yes, thank you for the snap. Arts. Finding events. The DMV area is great for artistic events, especially in the Bmore area. There's literally always something going on. There's even art and even just how you relate and talk to other people. Finding people that you actually vibe with. So just making, at some point in time, the mind, body, spirit is going to be off, but at some point in time, it's going to be on. So making sure that whatever it is that you're doing aligns with your own morals, values, and principles. Thank you.
Of course, and I love that. When I was diagnosed and I was home from work, I just did makeup every single day. I just played in makeup all day long, was just doing crazy things, a lot of yellow, a whole lot of yellow, but that was just the best way for me to like cope with what I was dealing with. So love that. Get into the arts. So I am going to open this up also to the floor. Anyone feel free to answer, but for caregivers, partners, and or family members, what guidance do you have for supporting the mental health and wellness of someone with endometriosis?
Get involved. Get involved, whether you are a man, if it's your children. It's very important for men to be involved in this process. My dad is a part of my process. My son's back there, he's a part of the process because education and awareness is important. So getting involved with your family, and also us as being the individuals with endometriosis, we have to communicate. We have to communicate and let our family members or our friends know, what we're going through so that they can be able to support us, even if it's on those days like, I don't feel like being bothered today. We need to communicate those things and get them involved.
Absolutely. I'm thinking about how family members can be involved. If you can actually accompany that person to their doc appointments, but also us being to communicate, hey, I would like someone to be there. Even if they're on speakerphone and they're, asking questions to the doctor about what about this treatment, what about that treatment, what are the side effects. And for partners, being a little bit more understanding that sometimes the person with endo is not going to want to be active. No, I don't want to go on that hike with you. Also understand every now and then we might have a little bit of an attitude. It's not an attitude, it's experiencing pain and trying to process it. I don't want to take in all this stuff while I'm trying to focus on, oh my God, my uterus is about to fall out. So being a little bit more understanding. Provide the heating pad. Provide, the beverage next to the bedside.
The snacks, everything.
Everything, the good snacks, a little bit of chocolate, something, and just being a little bit more understanding that this is what they're going through right now. Let's give them some time in order to work through this.
Can I add to the partners or your family members or whoever your main support showing up to the appointments is a big deal because you don't have to keep repeating stuff over, and that's a big deal. So it's like, oh God, I have to go and repeat this information and repeat it. So it's like just already having them on the phone or they're there. It's like they're getting the information right along with you while you're getting it.
Because that can be exhausting.
Yes. So, yes, that's go if you can.
And also, I think when you're dealing with so much, you kind of just have like brain fog. You don't know what's happening, and having someone there to go ahead and say, okay, when you're in the car, this is what they said to do, or this is who they said to call. I think that's important because, like I said, I will literally zone out. I don't know what you just said 5 seconds ago. Yeah, exactly.
It's very overwhelming.
Yeah, so much emotion tied into it. So I think that's why it's like really important to have someone there if you possibly can. For me, I actually stopped eating meat because I heard it helped. My mom went full blown vegan. She was like, all right, fine, we're not eating chicken no more. Let's do it. She's still vegan. I went back to the chicken, but that was the way she showed support for me, and I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're actually going to start to open it up to the floor. I would love to hear. No, we're not. Just kidding. Keep going. Never mind. JK, guys. JK. This is how we doing it. All right. Ray, I'm going to ask you a question. How has navigating the healthcare system shaped your approach to self-advocacy? Can I speak?
You can.
Self-advocacy.
Well, self-advocacy has been the very beginning of my journey. It's just kind of who I am, and I'm so glad that I'm that kind of person because it's how I started at 17 or Ask Jeeves. Figuring out what's going on, just looking at my symptoms, why I'm having this pain around my period time, lasting this long, feeling like this. And I'm like, it has to be this. This is the only thing that keeps circling back. It has to be this. And this was me at 16, 17, 18. I'm like, it has to be. And even though I took a pause because the birth control again was working, that doctor did give me birth control. I went to college, I was managing. It's still, it's in the back of my head, and so when I picked back up again around my mid-20s, that's when I had the lap procedure in 2015, where they went in and scraped and got rid of some of it, came back. But the self-advocacy journeys, it never stopped. Even you mentioned your medication started to, birth control started to
Give me side effects.
Yes. So that's been my recent journey over the past 5 years. Anybody want to see a picture of my face looking like an alligator? I'll be happy to show you after this. Out of nowhere, and again, this comes with age, I'm finding out of nowhere, the same birth control that had been effective at one point in time just started to break me out, alligator skin, so severe I had to take steroids for it. And I found out this was the problem with Janelle, Laren, microdressing. It started to be and I'm seeing dermatologists, I seen a dermatologist, I had to see an allergist. This was over in the past year, spending all this money, advocating, screaming, going off on appointments. I'm telling them it has to be something to birth control. So it never stops. Even if it was managing the pain, it started to make me itch and my face look, so it never stops. I'm screaming, I'm going off. And it was that. So now I'm on a progestin only birth control. So it never stops. The advocacy never stops. Don't ever stop advocating for yourself. Get a second opinion, go to another doctor. There was one time I advocated so hard, Dr. Emmanuel Brown, I was so angry. It turned into aggression. The advocacy went so hard in that office. So but they hurt me, So just never stop advocating for yourself. Even if you got to get a second opinion, spend some money. I did. I'm still paying LabCorp because I didn't believe what they were telling me. I'm still owing them a bill to this day. But I feel good. I sleep good at night knowing that I'm I'm my own best advocate.
I love it. Come on, girl, you can work. And Dr. Ashley, what does long-term pelvic health restoration look like beyond the operating room?
Okay, this is a very important question and kind of like why we're here.
Yeah.
Surgery is a very small part of your journey. Like, I'm a surgeon and I still say that to my patients. This is a very small blip on your journey of endometriosis because this is a lifelong condition you'll have to manage. It's also really important to realize that having endometriosis puts you at higher risk of having other conditions that can also cause pain. Bladder, like things like interstitial cystitis, vascular issues of the pelvis, pelvic floor, just dysfunction. And so it's really, really important that we attack everything from all angles, right? Surgery is one part. You also need to be doing pelvic floor physical therapy. You also need to be seeing possibly a physiatrist. That's something we offer in our clinic, seeing someone that specializes in pelvic pain, and they do specialized procedures for patients in pain that can help with the inflammation that's caused by endometriosis. Taking care of your mental health, exercising, doing an anti-inflammatory diet. And now that you have, once you have a diagnosis, it's also really important, like you mentioned this, if you do have a flare, right? You might be doing everything perfectly. You may be eating all the vegetables and you had excision surgery and you know that everything should be fine, and you may have a pain flare. That happens sometimes. It could be one of those other conditions. It could not be the endo. And you need to not freak out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because you catastrophize it and it's be like, sometimes I tell my patients, we know what this is, let's manage it, let's give you what you need. But it's a really powerful tool to think that way. But just think of it as a lifelong journey, and you have to get a whole team. And the GYN is just one part of the team.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. And Tamika, how can advocacy itself be a form of healing?
It can be a form of healing because, like I said, healing is not linear.
Right.
And when you are telling your story, for example, I started storytelling, not knowing that I was storytelling. I went to Facebook and I started explaining some of the symptoms that I was going through, and then later on made the connection. But when I made that connection, those followers were like, all this time you had endometriosis, and then all these others started to come out. And that became healing for me. And even on those days, it's like, I want to give up and I want to push back, because even advocacy can be exhausting. You advocating for yourself, you're dealing with a whole body disease, you're dealing with new symptoms, and you think you're dying. And then you are helping others, you're reaching back and helping others to advocate for themselves. So a part of that journey can be very exhausting, and it can affect you sometimes mentally, okay? But I have learned by storytelling, I was able to help other people. So sharing my story for me has been very important. Even writing my first digital book, The Most Toxic Relationship I've Ever Had. And I wrote that book is because I never been in a relationship with a man that brought me through it, but them doctors brought me through it. They brought me through it, and I went through the stages of grief and denial, anger. I went through it all. And so it doesn't just affect, like I said, us physically, but it also affects us emotionally, mentally, financially. I said that twice, but financially.
That's how
so,
it is.
And and it affects those around us as well. I missed out on some things, even with my son. But at the end of the day, advocacy is so important, and is important for us as well as others.
Yeah, for sure. And this is also going to be for anyone who would like to answer, but how can healthcare providers better address the emotional and psychological aspects of living with chronic pelvic pain?
They have to stop projecting.
Hello.
Stop projecting. That's number one. I find that some healthcare providers, they provoke us. They provoke us to anger. They provoke our stress. They provoke our symptoms to increase. So I think that providers need to take a self-reflection on themselves, and maybe have some type of extensive training on learning how to deal with individuals, to deal with patients, to understand that you are not the person that's dealing with this pain. I am the person who's dealing with this pain, and learn how to be sympathetic, empathetic, whatever it takes to understand what we are going through. But I think stop projecting. That's number one. Have a self-reflection moment and think about how it's affecting us, not just the fact that it's affecting us physically, but it's affecting all capacities of our life, our dating lives. Even if some people who are married, infertility, our children not being able to show up, and a host of other things.
It's a perfect answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a lot of issues with the healthcare system, right? And especially, I was a journalist for 5 years before I became an endometriosis specialist. And so I've been there, where you have 15 minutes and you're trying to see all these pregnant women in between, but you can still always believe your patients and make them feel heard. And you can refer if you don't have the time to deal with it. If you don't know what's wrong with the patient, please refer them. Because you can't be all things to all people, and that's okay. I can't deliver a baby anymore.
Yeah, I think providers, some have a mentality where I've seen this before, or they think they know. But every case is different, every symptom is different.
know everything.
The allergist I seen about my face was, there was a reaction. And so he wasn't compassionate to begin with. And he doesn't know that I have endo. But still, these are specialty doctors. All this kind of goes tying to a bow here. I'm seeing you because I'm on birth control that I cannot stop taking, or else I'm doomed. So what are my options here? Before I even told him I had endo, just stop taking the pills if you think that's a reaction. Just stop taking it. I can't stop taking it. Well, I don't know what to tell you. It was a friend, my social support system, who said, go see an endocrinologist. That's where I'm finding like the certain birth control medications. They have they're just made different now, generic.
There's a lot of different birth controls.
Yes, they are.
And one thing about endometriosis is that it's very understudied, right? Like do not have a lot of scientific research. So even as a specialist, there's things I haven't seen, right? So I just have to believe you. I'm like, I never heard of that, but I believe you, right? And we're gonna figure it out. And there's a lot of different medications, and so you guys just have to work as a team and figure out what's right, but you have to have someone that listens to you.
Yes.
For sure. We're going to start with the closing questions, but I want each of you to answer these questions for me, please, and we'll start with Ray. But what advice would you give to Black women who are navigating endometriosis and seeking holistic support?
Holistic? I'll say just do your research, right? I'm a combination of both. I am not just one way. I am not 100% holistic. It's to me a combination approach. I like to approach from all angles. I just say do your research. Evidence-based research when you're looking for holistic practices. There is a holistic book. I don't know the name, but if you want to know it, I have it saved on my phone. I can give it out to you guys. I would just say go with evidence-based holistic approaches when you're doing your research. That's don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you've heard that saying before, take what makes sense to you, leave what you don't need, but evidence-based research. I just have to say that.
And I'm gonna have to agree with her, and I say that because when you are part of a support group, especially on social media, you will have predatory individuals who are in those groups and trying to sell you some bullshit. Please do not put things in your body that are supposed to stay there for a week and automatically dissolve your fibroids or your endometriosis. That's not going to work. Please do not try that. Hopefully you can back me up.
People are, the healthcare system is failing people, and so they're looking for these alternatives.
Just trying to find an outlet.
But also understanding, yes, you can change your diet. I'm pretty sure all of us have changed our diets like 20 million times. Kale on your uterus, listen, you can eat as much kale as you want to, as much spinach as you want to, but certain things are just not going to cure you of the illness. It's more so the holistic point is working on your mind, body, and spirit connection and realizing that it's here. How do I cope with this right now? And how do I cope with this in the future? So mental health is also a part of holistic care.
That's so funny. I tell the patient too, like, there's only so much kale can solve, right? But I think that my biggest advice would be do not try to overhaul your life all at once, because that is also stressful, right? Don't think you have to do everything perfectly in order to live a holistic life, and do not abandon medicine. Like, we should all be working together. So just like if you're having a reaction to a medication, go see your doctor and you guys figure out together what changed. Don't try to research it yourself and stress yourself out and be like, trying to figure that out. Changing your diet, that's something that happens gradually. Work with a dietitian. Your mental health, have a professional. Like, you need to have a team of professionals so you're not alone and not trying to figure out yourself. And it's things that happen gradually. You add things to your life a little bit at a time.
And there's also a survey or stats where I saw that some women were taking complementary and alternative approaches in addition to a medication regimen. And if that works for you, that works for you. You have to be patient with the process, just like anything else that you do, and you have to be consistent. Don't be like, okay, well, I tried this for a week and it's not working. Like, you have to constantly be consistent. And I always tell people to know thy body. That is so important, to know thy body. doctors cannot solve everything for you. They don't know everything. So you just have to keep that in mind, that you are your biggest advocate, but your body is also your own. And you have to take care of your body. You have to love on your body, and you have to treat your body well. And I feel like once you start to do that, you'll see some changes that start to take place. And it's not an overnight process, and it's not going to be, everything is going to happen all at one time. And it's not going to solve all of your problems, but it will help in the process.
Sure. And we're going to swing it back this way. So we'll start with you, Tamika. How can the broader community, including healthcare providers, family, and faith-based organizations, better support Black women's wellness in the context of endometriosis?
Where I'm from New Orleans. And
You're a girl.
I'm from New Orleans, baby. So let me tell you, we don't have a lot of these things in our area. So with that being said, in 5 minutes, we don't have a lot of these supports in our community. I did start a support group for chronically ill individuals to come together, but still, even with that, people still don't always show up, but you still have to show up, you know what I mean, and extend the race. But you have to meet people where they are. I find that a lot of times we're not being met where we are, even if that's through social media, but we also need our community to come outside the 4 walls and to make it plain, and to have these programs and events that can cater to us.
For healthcare, I can speak for healthcare providers. We need to participate in patient advocacy and work with the patients to get this message out. And we need to believe our patients. Even if there's something they're telling you, something you don't understand, you've never heard of, you can say, I don't know exactly what's wrong, but I can help you find out. And that's really powerful, even if you don't end up being the solution, but not making the patient feel crazy. That's not helpful.
And you mentioned something about faith, and I just want to point this out. I'm Christian, Catholic. I believe in God. However, when a person is telling you that they're in any sort of pain, please, let's be mindful of saying, just pray on it.
Oh,
Yes.
please.
If you really want to piss someone off, tell them, oh, just pray on it. There's more to it than just a prayer. Granted, that's the only person who's going to hear you, or the entity that will hear you at 4 o'clock in the morning when you're on the bathroom floor. But I want you to realize that there's more that you can do for that person at that point in time than just telling them to just pray on it. It really comes off as very dismissive.
Yes.
Thank you for that. That was, I don't think I have anything to add. Honestly,
Just like 10 across the board.
that's, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing all your knowledge and wisdom. I am going to open it up to to questions and answers, but first, I really want to thank our sponsors, PRM, Sumuto Pharma, Cramps, Semaine Health, and Lynette. Thank you so much for sponsoring this amazing panel. I've learned so much from all of you, and I hope you guys learned a lot too. But if you guys have any questions, but we're going to give you the come up.